I'm Shirakawa from Transport. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. For this recording session, we're filming several segments at once, but almost all of them involve the documents we've been discussing. It's such a heavy and important topic. We even released a video about it at the end of the year. I heard that as part of that process, you visited a government office, Mr. Shirakawa.
The other day, I went to the Labor Standards Inspection Office in Sapporo. I believe the official name is the Sapporo Central Labor Standards Inspection Office. While I was there looking into various things, I found some points were still a bit vague. Legal matters and the wording of official notices can often be interpreted in different ways. So I organized my questions to a certain extent and asked things like, what about this part? And how should we interpret this section? That's what I was doing there.
I see. And how did that go? Did you get the answers you needed?
It cleared up quite a bit. I realized that some parts aren't handled there and aren't under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare. It became clear which parts belong elsewhere. For things like the 2024 problem in the transport industry or the special provisions for two-person crews, even though they're issued by the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism, the jurisdiction can change depending on the specific content, even if it's all in the same document.
Wow, I see. It really varies that much then.
That's right. What actually prompted the visit to the Labor Standards Office was something I mentioned in a video around the end of the year about starting to recruit for a COO position, as we wanted to bring someone in from the outside. And, well, we were fortunate enough to find someone even better than expected. As of January 1st, this person joined us as a new executive and COO. Now, within the Japanese corporate framework, the role of COO, or Chief Operating Officer, isn't strictly defined, but that's the role they've taken on since joining the company. Well, this person, Mr. Kato, suggested we make an appointment. He's been working closely with me on the documents, and we've made a lot of progress. He said, let's go to the Transport Bureau for this part. Since we'd come this far and had a better handle on the remaining uncertainties, we decided to book a meeting at the Transport Bureau to ensure they'd give us the time to get as many definitive answers as possible. We knew we wouldn't solve everything there and that more questions would likely arise. But when we contacted them with that in mind, they told us that the current 2024 problem is mostly a matter for the Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare, and it's for the Labour Standards Office. I was like, oh, I see. But in the end, if you ask what the 2024 problem really is, it's essentially the work style reform. The industries that were given a grace period of several years were transport, construction, and the medical field, doctors and such. Those three industries and sectors are difficult to change easily, or rather, it's probably quite hard to modify the way things have traditionally been done there. There was a grace period because doing it all at once would have caused chaos for the country, but many companies haven't been able to adapt. We're the same, naturally. Well, maybe not naturally, but we haven't met it yet. In the end, when they told us, I thought, right, it's about how we work after all. The biggest issues are duty hours and working hours, especially with people dying from overwork. There was a time when that was in the news quite a lot. So, to improve that, the government made a major shift toward work style reform, and this is essentially the result of that movement. That is exactly why we really have to limit the operations in the transport industry. Ultimately, we must always operate within the set duty hours and working hours, so basically it's an industry that's been way over those limits until now. Construction and healthcare are the same way. Even doctors, they see emergency patients from morning till night, and then after the patients leave, they have to organize charts or manage schedules for inpatients.
I definitely have the image of them working incredibly hard.
Well, it's been said for a long time that in the transport industry, despite lower annual incomes compared to other jobs, the working and duty hours are this long. Yeah, it's been in the news on and off, and even now it still pops up occasionally. In that context, regarding the two-person crew exception, our drivers are the same, but they're technically working, right, while the vehicle is moving. So many of them consider it working time. Well, mentally, it feels like working time. In legal terms, driving counts as work, as does driving or performing tasks.
Right?
But for the other person, it's considered rest time.
So it's duty time, but also rest time?
While the truck is moving, yes, one person drives while the other one rests.
I see.
So it's rest time. Therefore, legally speaking, it's not considered working time.
Right.
But since the vehicle is moving and they can't leave, they are under duty, it's duty time. The duty hours end up being incredibly long, but the longer the distance, since only one person is driving, the other is on rest, so the actual working hours look low. But you can't just say, oh, the working hours are low, so it's fine. Even if they aren't working, they end up with an insane amount of duty time. Exactly.
It turns into a situation where they can be on duty for days at a time.
That level.
That's how it ends up.
Yes. Anyway, in these documents, our own collected data clearly shows that we are really over the established limits. To be clear, I don't know exactly how other companies operate. It's just speculation. I can't document that or make it public. This is strictly about our operations, old and new. This is how we'll do things. I can show you that if we don't know when the company might be forced to stop. I guess it's about time to say.
Yes, of course.
So, regarding this issue, the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare is a big part of it. Tomorrow I'll be going to the Labor Standards Office, again with Cato, the new executive, and we'll address what came to light the other day, as well as the additional issues that have surfaced. I'm planning to go and consult with them to further iron out the details. I don't expect it to be finished just tomorrow, but even now quite a few things have already been resolved, though there are still some parts where the interpretation is difficult. And it turns out some things aren't even under the Labor Standards Office's jurisdiction.
What? There are things not managed by the Labor Standards Office?
Well, it means we'll have to go somewhere else for those. But if we don't clarify that, we can't move forward while things are vague.
Wait, wasn't there a specific ministry that oversees horse racing itself?
Well, since people work in horse racing, the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare is involved. But primarily, it's the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries because, well, horses are animals. The Ministry of Agriculture's jurisdiction is, broadly speaking, primary industries, like forestry, fisheries, and the livestock industry.
I see.
To put it simply, they oversee those kinds of sectors. And since horses move around, like at training centers, there's a quarantine system to prevent disease. And that quarantine system is also under the Ministry of Agriculture. The jurisdiction varies for imports and exports related to quarantine depending on what's being handled.
I feel like cross-functional organizational structures are becoming quite common these days, at least in companies. You can't just act all high and mighty and say, this isn't my department's problem. I think companies are evolving that way, even in terms of their organizational structure. If you go to a government office, they'll tell you, this isn't us, go ask that person. But if you said that in a company,
people would say, give me a break, wouldn't they?
In a project, they'd say, get it together.
It's all part of the same company.
Right, like, I'm asking the company, so why don't you know? Personally, I find it frustrating that the government can say that so openly, but I guess things are just too compartmentalized.
Since the 2024 problem came into focus, I do feel that the horizontal connections between ministries have become much closer.
Well, that's at least a good thing.
It's gradual, I'm sure. But even through preparing these materials, it's becoming clear that ultimately, things like the 2024 problem and work style reforms are primarily issued by the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare through various public notices and such.
Yes.
But if you violate these, like the rules on working hours or duty hours, it ends up involving the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism.
Well.
Because, that's basically where the penalties are located. So if something happens and an audit is conducted, it all ends up being linked together, and yeah.
Okay, I see.
Transport violations also found.
So basically, if you get caught for one thing, you get caught for everything.
And well, with the 2024 problem, penalties became much harsher all at once, so they can shut you down in an instant. And if you're stopped, you can't move for days. Those rules got a lot stricter too. That's why many decided they were unable to go on, and closed down their businesses before that happened. Many trucking companies nationwide that carry all sorts of goods did the same, and they're being weeded out more and more, so to speak. Some were forced to close after being penalized, and we're seeing more and more cases of companies being bought out as well.
It seems the 2024 problem is really a turning point for their fate. It feels like there's a clear divide now between trucking companies that can survive and those that can't.
Right, the ones who actually took action early on, regardless of whether there was any kind of grace period or not, those are the people we're talking about here. Once the work style reforms were laid out, specifying the maximum annual working and binding hours, the proactive companies started moving as soon as that was announced. In that process, for the trucking industry, they've been raising freight rates across various sectors because, The old way of doing things just incurs too many costs now. Basically, even those in industries with many past violations. Well, they used to force people to work hours that exceeded the rules. And in order to follow those rules, you have to either hire more staff members or work on improving overall efficiency. That, of course, leads to all sorts of additional costs and expenses. It's actually a lot like our situation. In a small market, if only one company decides to ask for a rate hike, customers usually flock to the ones that haven't raised rates, at least at first. And since they can manage without those extra costs, the others keep going for a while. They just keep going without hiring more people. If they did, the rates wouldn't cover it.
They can't sustain it.
If they're surviving without raising rates, that's exactly what's happening. It's almost impossible to suddenly improve efficiency elsewhere. That costs money too. After a few years in small industries like this with only a few players, and this happens everywhere, we're seeing many cases where only the ones that dared to raise prices are still around. Well, when that happens, the ones paying the money eventually have no choice but to accept it.
Even if it's expensive, there's no other way to maintain the service.
But we call it our legs, and it's not just about the price. Things become restricted. In our case, it's 6 companies, but in Hokkaido, for example, where 10 companies used to operate, often one company that raised rates survives initially. But even if others follow suit, we're seeing many cases where only 2 or 3 out of 10 remain. After all, that's inconvenient for the clients, isn't it? Because things that used to move normally just won't anymore. Yeah, I really want to prevent this industry from ending up like that.
And that's the main goal, the objective that you're working towards right now, isn't it, Mr. Shirakawa?
That's why I keep using the term fair freight rates, though. Well, also, many people are aware that the Ministry of Agriculture and horse racing have a deep connection. It might have a gambling image, but every year, a percentage of horse racing sales from betting tickets goes to the government as a payment to the national treasury. Those payments from betting profits go to the state, and as for what they're used for, it's for things under the ministry's jurisdiction, like livestock other than horses, or environmental improvement and conservation. Money flows into areas like social welfare and things like that. It's circulating. It might be gambling, but it plays that role, which is probably why it's permitted, I suppose.
Well, that's true. There aren't many government-approved forms of gambling. It's one of them, like the lottery.
Right, like the lotto. So money is actually circulating constantly in those areas, and the world is turning because of it being enriched and maintained. Taking all of that into consideration, I really don't want horse racing to disappear. That's just how I honestly feel. It's not something that's directly visible to us. But in reality, we're actually helping out in a different world, in our own unique way.
Yeah, in the end, it's all connected, isn't it? Yes.
Because it's a cycle.
Then, if you would, please proceed with the document preparation at your earliest convenience.
Yes. As much as possible, yes.
Yes, quickly.
Quickly and accurately.
Julian Moore.
Easy to understand.
I sincerely hope we can share the progress again. Oh, thank you very much.
Ohe is looking for drivers. Please check the recruitment site or corporate site in the description, and if you're interested, we'd love for you to apply.